You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or you enjoyed watching old school UFC. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to be less vulnerable, start training Jiu Jitsu. I'd like to welcome Spencer Hewitt to my podcast. Hi Spencer, how are you?
I'm very good.
Thank you so much for joining me having this conversation. I know you've been on a number of podcasts, so you're not a newbie to this, nor are you a newbie to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, being a third degree black belt. Tell me about your journey in brief, Spencer, because a number of my listeners will know who you are already, but those who don't, give them a brief overview.
Okay, so I started martial arts very, very young. My dad brought me and my brother up in a very physical household where knowing how to defend yourself and everything was very, very important. My brother was just much more physical than me. I was a lot smaller, and we done martial arts together. So we started off at judo, and we did that together. So we used to train at the club, train at home, and we got pretty good. And then I'd done that up to maybe 11. Then I went into boxing. I'd done boxing from 11 to 18 with my brother. My brother ended up turning professional.
Wow.
And then I injured my back doing boxing. It was actually on Remembrance Sunday. I actually mentioned this before, so this is a new little bit of a story. I injured my back on Remembrance Sunday. It was actually in the minute silence. So I always think maybe if I kept to the minute silence, I would have injured myself, but that's a true story. So I injured my back and it was pretty bad. So I stopped training boxing and was pretty heartbroken, to be honest. I found it very hard. And I noticed over maybe a year and a half, I started to lose my muscle tone and strength and everything else where I weren't doing no activity. So I see a chiropractor, osteopath, and I had no success. And then one day I see a physio, a guy called Phil Sadler, and he actually told me the opposite. He said, get back to sport, strengthen it up, and over time it will get better. So when I first walked into a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu class, the first thing I said to the instructor was, I want to do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but I won't be able to spar because I have a back injury.
Yeah.
So I was there just to learn the techniques, not thinking I would be able to compete or spar. And then Brazilian Jiu Jitsu plus the exercise, my back started to get strong, started getting more mobile. And I decided to start sparring and to see what happened, and it was fine. So I just carried on sparring, and then I started competing. So I believe if I listened to some of the other medical experts told me to give up sport, I wouldn't be where I am now, and my health wouldn't be where it is now. So there's lots of opinions, but I believe you've all got to find your own journey to recover from certain injuries and get different opinions. Not one's always right for everybody.
I agree with that. Now, a year and a half not training anything when you've been so active, you saw your physical health kind of deteriorate. How was your mental health during that time? Was it noticeable that by not being physical and being active, that it impacted how you felt about life?
Yeah, definitely. So at the time as well, I was doing a physical job. I was going to college to do bricklaying. I was training boxing. So then I gave up boxing, and then the on the building site it just got too painful. So I actually had to change jobs as well. And being very physical and that I did, I think it affected my confidence.
Yeah.
And also, how can I word it? Like also the way I looked as well. I'm in my 20s. I've gone from being toned and in shape to actually very skinny, which I know some people I didn't, because I was always as a skinny child, and my dad used to always say, "Look at your brother, he's stockier." So when I was actually in shape and toned, it gave me some confidence. And then I didn't really put on weight. I'm not one of them people. I just got really skinny. And I'd
Yeah.
always say I'd rather be a bit heavier than skinny. You know, I didn't like the way that
Yeah.
felt. So it affected my confidence. So when I did get back to training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I know a lot of us guys now do strength and conditioning, but at the time,
Yeah.
just Jiu Jitsu, my muscles, my ligaments, and everything else got much stronger, and
Yeah.
I didn't get big, but I'd got back to being in physical good shape, and it really did
Yeah.
get my confidence back. And then I added the gym to it as well,
Yeah.
which made a big thing. But I also, in that period of time, I've done a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Um, I think I tried to find myself a little bit as well, because I was sort of a little bit lost. So
Yeah.
obviously I had to change my career. I went into retail in the end, because it was less physical. I didn't do great at school. So I was doing retail, and then I found the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So I then was doing retail and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu
Yeah.
at the same time. And
Do you think being around people more? I don't really understand the profession of bricklaying. It feels quite a kind of solitary thing. You might have mates that are kind of bricklaying with you, but did you find that being around more people in the retail environment and being in jiu-jitsu really kind of helped you?
it helped massively, because what happened through retail, another thing my dad always installed in me, whatever you're going to do, give it 100%.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was in retail, I knew it ain't what I truly want to do, but if I'm going to do it, I want to be good at it. So I was really good at sales. I had always the highest
Yeah.
sales targets and things like that, very good with customer service. And then I went into management. So then when I opened my own academy, I know how to manage a business, because I
Yeah.
managed
Nice.
sports shops, perfume shops. I've done quite a lot of things. So I had
Yeah.
management experience, but also people skills as well.
Mm.
Um, and when you have good people skills, especially if it's genuine, like I actually genuinely cared for my customers, that they
Yeah.
had a good experience and stuff. I think
Yeah.
now, especially some retailers, like the people they employ, like they're on their mobile phone while you're trying to ask for something. Like
Yeah.
it's it's starting to get a bit lost. Not everybody, I don't want to say, but
Yeah.
compared to customer service when I was in it, like
Yeah.
if I was on my no one on my team would be on their mobile phone while you're in a store.
Yeah.
That was a
Did,
sackable
did we
offence,
did we even did we even have mobile phones back in the day?
They started to come in just at the end, and I remember like you had to put them in your bag on silent. But yeah,
Yeah.
I see people on like tills on their mobile phone, and it ain't even for work.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, how things have changed. But it gave me such a good way of dealing with customers, and even in
Yeah.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, we have to deal with lots of different people,
Yeah.
um, and some of their expectations of what they want from a club is different to what other
Yep.
people expect. Yeah. So
I,
I'll give you
I yeah.
I could give you a really good example, and it baffles me, but I still get why. So
Go
my
on.
membership in my gym it's a full-time academy, right? So we have over 25 classes a week. So you have daytime, evening, lunchtime. You get free gym access. It's £89 a month. I pretty much take 99% of the classes, and someone will ring me up and go, I want to join your gym, but I don't want the free gyms. So can I have it cheaper? And I said, you've just answered what you said. You get free gym access.
Yes.
You're not paying for the gym. And they still like, yeah, but I don't want to use it. I'm like, well, don't use it. But they want a discount for not using something that's
Yeah.
free. And
Yeah.
I have to be very patient and deal with it. But that comes from customer service. I
Yeah.
think if I did, like,
Completely.
to me, it just makes no sense.
It's very interesting, isn't it? I've kind of worked in retail kind of in my late teens or kind of early to late teens. And I'm not sure about you, probably the same. You know, the customer is always right. And I'm sure there's kind of a slightly different narrative now because it doesn't quite feel that way.
Yeah,
But there
no.
was an element of being able to understand individuals because everyone had a different requirement. There wasn't a
Hmm.
stream of people buying exactly the same product day
Same
in, day
thing. Yeah,
out.
exactly.
So actually, you have to deal with them differently. Whether
Hmm.
you're kind of being discreet because someone's bought some lacy underwear for somebody, that whatever. Anyway, there's about understanding the individual needs and
Yeah.
patience as well. It sounds like you've had to
Yes.
kind of understand and
Yeah. Patience is a virtue, I will say, especially in
yeah,
our industry. It's paid off. Um, I think my background's really helped me
yeah,
in where I've ended up. And the dream was always my own academy. Um, and even there was a point where I was management in retail, and then I opened my academy at the same time, but on a very small scale. So I would
yeah,
finish work at about 6 o'clock, lock up a store, jump on the bus, go to the gym, and I used to rent a space in a gym, and then I would teach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And on the days I weren't teaching, I was training.
yeah,
So it's like balancing. So I had to work to earn a living.
yeah,
I wanted to start getting into teaching, but I was still competing. So you, some people go, "Oh, you're really lucky. You got your own academy." It was nothing to do with luck. At the
uh,
beginning, I had to work 6 days a week
yeah,
in retail, and then every night, instead of
yeah,
being at home, I was teaching or training. But it's no regrets. It got to me where I am, and now I have an academy that which started with 4 students in a bar room, which I had to
yeah,
sweep the glass off the floor before, and then put these cheap black mats that I inherited,
yeah,
to about 140 students now, including kids,
yeah.
and a
Amazing.
competition team of about 35, 40, which is percentage wise, actually, including the kids, maybe about 60, 70 of my team
Wow,
compete as well, which is pretty high.
that's pretty good. Do you think if you didn't hurt your back and you were still doing bricklaying, you would have had that dream to open your own academy?
I think I would have stayed with boxing, I think, actually, but I'm
Mhm.
glad what happened guided me where I am,
Yeah,
because it's I love where I am and the career
yeah,
path I've took. And I think that's another thing. Um, I'm 45 now. I love jujitsu, but I also understand that my academy is there to bring the younger generation through, and also even the older generation, give them goals in life and
yeah,
give them some purpose as well. Like, there's people that have retired and they're not sure what to do. Like, they go and compete and they travel and they're part of a team. I think a lot of people like to be part of a
yeah,
team, and
yeah,
so that's one thing. But I also understand it's a business, um, which I didn't
mhm,
when I first started in academy. It was just like, oh, I'm getting paid to do my hobby, and now I understand it is a business as well.
yeah,
And I'm always trying to grow the business without losing the community side and like the family side as well. So it's like a
yeah.
balance.
It
Yeah.
sounds like throughout your kind of life and career, whether that's kind of in retail or running your own academy, that you've been able to be quite open minded, to be able to
Hmm.
see and hear and kind of take on different feedback, whether it's to improve your physical health and try Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in the first place.
Yeah.
The mindset might be that's counterintuitive to actually heal in life, but actually, I think many of us know that our bodies are now stronger. They might not be bigger.
Hmm.
We have to kind of train, do lots of strength and conditioning, but actually our ligaments, our joints are stronger, they're more resilient. And for me, it's going to take me through to much later life, which is certainly my
Exactly.
goal. And it sounds like your health, your physical health, and your academy is going to take you further into your kind of
Yeah.
progress through your black belt years and
Yes.
beyond.
Yeah. So some people like to me like, oh, do you want to take a back seat and open some more academies? I'm still very passionate about teaching.
Yeah,
I have a standard as well. Maybe a little bit OCD. I've talked about this before, like where I wouldn't just let anybody take my class.
yeah,
Even though I've got some real great students, um, I try and teach things systematically and technically as spot on as possible. So if I get someone to teach a class and then they're doing a variation of it that ain't correct, I'm a bit like, wow, like now I've got to teach 40 students what they've done is not correct. So now it's counterproductive. But I have got 3 or 4 guys who teach under me that understand the way I teach, the systems and everything else. And I know some people are like, everyone has their own way of teaching, so let them have their own style. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if the technique's not taught right, it's counterproductive. Okay, and there is certain mechanics in jiu-jitsu, certain concepts and rules that will never change.
Yes.
It is elevating, it will always improve. There are new techniques, but the rules and concepts don't change. If you're talking about escaping, you generally always have to get inside position before you escape. That's not going to change.
Right, exactly.
Most limb submissions, you need to control the joint above. So if it's an armbar, you control the shoulder. If it's a leg lock, you're controlling the hip and above the knee. Certain things will never change. But techniques to improve, and there is new techniques, which is great. But yeah, I'm quite a fickler when it comes to people teaching. Same as when I get seminars from people, I really do. I don't just get someone because they're trendy or they're cool, or it's like, is what they do going to bring something to my team?
I think we can all kind of understand that jiu-jitsu, there are certain kind of limb manipulations and angles and things that work the best. Even I've been learning, I'm still learning lots, and I'm sure we all are, but even the angle or the position, even if you're off by maybe 5 degrees, you can't quite pull the move off. And it really is important to be quite meticulous and considered about how you learn and how you teach in that way. So I kind of applaud the OCD-ness that you're sharing. I think it's really important because it does make so much difference in being able to get to that submission position in an efficient way. One of my kind of phrases is "don't tap out till the end," but actually, I'm now starting to see the value of some of the guests on the show that have really quick submissions and being able to kind of speed up that process. I'm not there yet, Spencer. I'm a long way to go, but actually, I can see that that's a goal to be able to maneuver and kind of get myself in the right position, as well as get my opponent in a position where I can submit them quicker.
Yeah, that's the goal. And I think that's a very important thing with jiu-jitsu as a whole. You got to understand it. You can do an IBJF tournament or certain tournaments, and we can win on points and advantages. And it is playing a game. But when we look at sub only or combat as a whole, the aim goal is to submit your opponent. It's a bit like boxing. You can beat a guy on points, but you actually would like to stop him. Either body shot, knockout. So the same is with jiu-jitsu. Like some style of tournaments like IBJ and stuff, you have got to play the game, and you may win on the points advantage. But the actual true art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is controlling your opponent that leads to a finish that ends it. And I try and teach that as much as I can. And I've had students that have come from other clubs, and I'm not going to knock other clubs, but their viewpoint of jiu-jitsu was different to mine. So I'll give you an example. I had a student that come and all he ever did was defend, and he'd go into a turtle and he'd defend and he'd defend. So I spoke to him one day and he's like, oh, I was taught like the main thing is if you didn't get submitted, you didn't lose. I'm like, okay, so that's your theory. But I said, but you didn't win either. All you did was defend. Like the idea is to win. The idea is to submit your opponent. And when he got that, it then took about another long period of time to actually untrain his brain that he just thought, like, long as I don't get submitted in 5 minutes, I won.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a very defensive attitude to have, where
Mm.
I teach, like, even when you are defended, you defend, you escape,
Yeah.
then you re-attack. You can't just
Yeah.
keep defending forever, because what happens if there's no time limit? Like, you're just going to defend forever, like. So
Okay. We'll
the
come back to that
ethos,
bit.
yeah.
I love
So
that.
the ethos and your concept. What is your concept of jiu-jitsu? So
Yeah.
mine is, you control your opponent until you finish. Yes, there will be
Yeah.
points you may have to defend, but you need to turn your defense into offense.
Yeah.
You look at any other sport, basketball, wrestling, you can't just
Yeah.
defend the whole thing and think you're going to win that match. And it's important. It's really, really important. And sometimes we take on what we've been taught by someone else, and it's their idea. It don't mean it's
Yeah.
right. It might be right for them,
Yeah.
but it don't mean it's right for everyone. I'm not even saying my way is right for everyone. That's my viewpoint of Brazilian Jiu
Yeah.
Jitsu and combat. Your job is to win and finish. And that's another thing you'll take from each coach has a different style and viewpoint
Yeah.
of Jiu Jitsu. Some are very similar, actually.
Yeah.
I notice most competitors are very similar to me. They want to win, they want to finish. Maybe a more of a pure self defense club would have the other viewpoint of, like, if you don't get tapped or
Yeah.
you don't get hurt, it's a victory. But at the same time, if it was self defense, you want to be able to control your opponent and finish. So for me, that's the same. But that's just my viewpoint.
Okay, you're making me think now. I might have to change my intro about not tapping out before the end. This is the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Go and check out the latest video clips over on jiu.jitsu.lu on Instagram. And as you're listening or watching on your favourite podcast platform, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Today, I'm having a conversation with Spencer Hewitt. Spencer, I think it is really valid and kind of poignant for you sharing kind of the open mindset that actually sometimes the things that we know and understand in our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, that's one way. Likewise, one coach, one professor teaching in one way, there may well be other ways of learning. Certainly reflecting on the defense mode in jiu-jitsu, I very much played a defending role, but actually I see even more now so the value of the kind of attack. Give me some tips and some ideas to be able to for me to be able to kind of get into a more of an attacking, submitting mindset with your experience of competing.
Okay, so I'm gonna attack it in a couple of different directions. One is, you always remember, as a white belt, you're always going to be defending. Okay, you learn defense first. You don't know enough to get attacked, so you learn defense first.
Yeah.
Then defense, escapes, then some positional, and then you're going to attack. So around blue belt, you and purple belt, you definitely should be start looking into attack. So let's make it like a position. Let's say you're in side control. Now, instead of just escaping the side control to a closed guard and then locking your legs and holding on, why don't you, as you're escaping, you get your knee and elbow connection, you throw your leg over the back, and you go to clamp guard, which is a more attacking guard. So you're going from defense to an attacking position. For example, mount, maybe you do like a kip in escape and you end up in single X. Now you can attack a leg lock or a sweep. So remember, attacking ain't always a submission. A sweep is an attack.
Yeah.
A takedown is an attack. So you're changing the dimensions of that thing. So at the minute your opponent's attacking you, once you escape, you then need to turn that into your attack. So he's now thinking about defending. Even off balancing someone. The moment you off balance someone, he's not thinking about passing your guard. He's not thinking about choking you. He's worrying about his base. So it starts with small counters. But obviously, I always have it like, make sure you defend first, even if someone's on your back. So someone's on your back, first thing you do is defend the choke, shoulders to the floor, you're going to start turning in. More than likely, once the back's on the floor, the elbow's down, he's going to start coming on top. Instead of accepting him mounting you, bring your knee in the middle, you're in single X. Again, you can use a single X to sweep and attack. So it's learning to defend and go to a position where you now can attack. That's where I would start.
Okay.
And then
that's advice so far.
Then once that happens, then you can start actually playing a game instead of, for example, instead of pulling guard and just, crossing your legs. Again, you could pull guard with a foot on a hip, hand in the collar sleeve, go collar and sleeve and start hitting triangles, scissor sweep. So you're actually now starting to attack instead of, and I think also one thing I've learned is I say to my guys in competition, sometimes they don't lead the dance. So they're reacting to their opponent. And sometimes when you're reacting to your opponent, you end up on that defensive cycle where makes the opponent react to you. So I might come out and I might get a head tie and go for a snap down. Now he's defending the snap down. He's already on a defensive cycle. Instead of me waiting and like, oh, let's see what grip he gets first. And for me, that's the match starts. So this is where a lot of clubs will start on the seated position or on both on knees, which I understand because it reduces injury risk. But when you go to a competition, you're going to stand up. So it actually, as soon as you shake hands, the match is started, and then you're going to grip. So your first grips, I think you should grip with purpose. Where some people just grip, and I ask people, like, I let people spar and they grip, and I'm like, okay, you've got your grips. Where are you going with that? And they're like, I don't know. So you're not gripping with purpose, If I grip someone, I generally know, like, okay, I have an arm drag here, I have a snap down here, and I'll get grips that I can get to what I want to do. So I grip with purpose. So that will start your attacking game.
I like the grip with purpose. I remember one of my last competitions, as soon as the kind of slap bump, I was literally going in for the lapel. But the purpose bit I was missing. I mean, the grip was amazing, but I didn't know what I was doing next.
So you wanted the lapel, but you didn't know what to do with it. There you go. So now you know, like, okay, I'm very good at gripping the lapel and the sleeve. What moves can I do off of that? And then, it was
a week after I got my blue belt, so forgive me.
Okay. You jumped in the deep end. That's good, though. It's always good to, I think that's another thing. Don't overthink competitions. Like sometimes you need a certain amount of skills. So when you do a tournament, you can analyze your performance. But you can't wait forever. And then, I think like if you can compete as a white belt, compete as a blue belt, compete at every belt if you can. You don't have to. Like everyone's journey is different. Some people just want to do jiu-jitsu and roll around with their friends. It's cool. But if you want to compete, I recommend try and compete as much as you can to gauge what you need to work on or what is working against people not familiar with your game as well. That's another thing. Like if people in your gym are generally, they sort of know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So it gives you a different viewpoint.
I want to ask a bit about kind of going into competition. So if I was more of an experienced competitor and I may have my kind of set of moves or kind of positions set up, that's my kind of rinse and repeat technique. Is there a benefit in kind of doing the same things depending on, regardless of who you come up against? Or is it better to have a variation on your game? Because I guess, we're all known for specific moves, whether it's leg locks, whether it's any, arm bars or whatever. But is there a value in mixing things up?
Okay, so I think you should have, as you go up through your journey, you need to have a good understanding of everything. So you should have an understanding of everything in jiu-jitsu: guard pulling, takedowns, leg locks, front headlocks, skillet. Like I could go on and on, right? So you should have a good understanding of everything, but you will have something you specialize in. And the reason you will specialize in certain areas is time. Like To be an expert in every part of jiu-jitsu is impossible, even if you train full time. So you have guys who specialize in leg locks, but are also very good at attacking the upper body when they foul with a leg lock, but they might not be that great at wrestling. But I don't think you should neglect something you're not good at. You need to have an understanding of it, because when someone attacks you with it, if you ever understand it, you have a good chance of defending it.
Yeah.
But we all specialize in certain areas. You know, I love guard passing, and I like neck attacks. I understand legs, and I teach legs in my gym, like leg locks. It's not my specialist field as a competitor, but as a coach, I'm very good at teaching. And my guys get a lot of leg locks and stuff like that. It's just I don't choose to use it too much in my game, especially because I fight at Masters, and most Masters tournaments won't let me reap or use heel hooks. So in my own game, I don't use it, but as a coach, I have to have a good understanding of it. But I do think, and this is something that I get my students to do, and I also think it really helped me. I won a lot of tournaments in 2022. So what I did, I got good in a certain area. So let's say front headlock. Okay, so I get I snap down, I get a front headlock. I then looked at how the guy would defend that and what reactions he would give me, and make sure I had counters to that. So I built a game of certain areas where I was strong. So so if I went front headlock and he would strip the chin grip, I would then put a thumb block and go to the back. So I'd build a game around areas that are strong, but also looking what reactions he would give me. But I think that's good for, even if you're not a competitor, just to improve your jiu-jitsu. You know, you might be really good at closed guard triangle, but then suddenly everyone in your gym understands you're good at triangle, so they all posture up when you go for the triangle. What is your counter to the posture up? If you don't have it, you need to find a way, either by experimenting or doing research.
One of the things I have kind of appreciated with competitors, you know, the kind of high level competitors, is having the footage and rewatching and kind of analysing kind of post match. And I guess I'm quite naive in not really considering it, but it just did not cross my mind. Ian Butler talked about kind of staying up all night, talking about his match and his performance, how he can improve on specific things throughout the match. You know, conversations with his coach after the competition, which you know is great advice. But what if you don't have a coach, but you do have some video footage of your match?
Okay, so the first this actually I really wanted to talk about, so it's coming up now, is you got to self-analyze your jiu-jitsu and you as a person as well. I think self-analyzation, but you have to be brutally honest with yourself, and sometimes that's where people go wrong. Like, the truth can sometimes hurt a little bit, but you've got to be brutally honest with it. And there's a thing that I think is so important, is accountability. You've got to be accountable. Like, if you go to a tournament and you trained twice in that month and you lose, that's your fault. That's accountable to you. Even if you're just a hobbyist, try and turn up 2 or 3 days a week if you've got a comp coming up, and put in the work, not just physically, but analyze your game, like you said. So when you watch your footage back, you know, you can, most gyms, I have video footage, I have cameras in my gym so we can watch it back. It's something I invested in. It's really good. Often a lot of my students go, I really pulled off a really good move, can I watch it back? I'm like, yeah, you can, but you're not posting it, because we don't do that. We don't, we're teammates. Like, you might do a good move to him on Monday, but on Wednesday. But I let my guys watch it back. Like, if you haven't, if you're training, you if you speak to the person you're rolling with and the coach, he might let you have a camera to video your roll. And especially if you might be an open mat, it should be cool. And then you look at where things go wrong. And when I say where things go wrong, this is another great learning curve that I teach my guys, and also I understand. Everyone looks at where it ended, but there's a point of where it started to go wrong. For example, if most people go, they get armbarred, they go, I need to work on armbar defense. No, how did that start? Did the guy pass your guard first? He passed your guard, he mounted you, and then he armbarred you, but you're looking at the end bit. Maybe you need to work on your guard retention. and your mount escape, then the armbar. But everyone always goes to that last bit. Like I hear people go, how do I defer a rear naked choke? It's like, well, once it's all locked in, it's pretty hard. But how did the guy get to your back?
Yeah.
Start there. Stop the guy going to your back. Maybe you're turning too much. Maybe you know, there's a reason. So that's another massive thing. Like, don't just analyze the end bit. Where did it go wrong? And even look at things you do right. You know, we always look at where it went wrong, but we're all doing good things in our role. Look for them and improve on them as well.
Yeah. I had some really nice feedback. I hadn't rolled with one of my teammates for a few months, and they commented how my jiu-jitsu is improved. I felt like I got nowhere. I was kind of rolling with a brown belt, so I still felt rubbish. But you know, how important is feedback from teammates when you're kind of drilling, rolling? What value does that add to somebody's game?
It's massive. So one, feedback can give you the person confidence, especially where you remember if everyone's training similar, everyone's improving together. So it's not like one person's doing this, we're all doing this. So you can be improving, but because the other person you're rolling with is improving, you don't notice it as much. But they can tell you that. Then that will give you confidence if it's for competition or just in your jiu-jitsu. Having confidence in your jiu-jitsu is very, very important. And if someone's giving you feedback, honest feedback, that you're improving in a certain area, you know you're on the right path as well. So then you ain't got to change what you're doing. That's one thing. But a really good friend of mine, so I started my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu not with Chetmat. It was with a guy called Mark Walder, a fantastic guy. He's one of the first guys to grow the sport in the country, but his club started to go more hobbyist, and I was still competing. So I was training with Val Moneto, who was Chetmat, and he eventually asked me to come over, and I made that decision. And I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I asked myself a question: do I stay loyal to a person or to a dream? And my dream is always to be world champion. I've took silver at the Worlds, but I'm still chasing that dream. You know, I've won the American Nationals, I've won lots of tournaments, but I've always wanted to be a world champion. If it's Masters 3, 4, it's something I would love to do. Well, I will do, I believe. And I knew I wouldn't reach that goal where I was. So I joined him, and I remember going to tournaments and I kept getting either bronze or silver. Like I was always in the top 2 or 3. But when it got to the finals, I was always coming a little bit short. And we had a training session, and he said to me, goes, I've never met anyone as dedicated as you, right? This guy's been doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu since he was a kid. He trained in Brazil. He's got his own academy. He's a world champion himself. And when he said that to me, it's like, if this guy says to me I'm more dedicated than anyone else, I should be winning more stuff. And then it gave me that self-belief. And then that 2022, after he said that to me in 2022, right at the beginning of the year. That year, I won the most tournaments I've ever won.
Wow.
And I think he planted a seed, and I always give him credit for that. I won the American Nationals. I won London Absolute. I won Europeans twice from there. No-gi, a black belt.
Amazing.
But it weren't just my jiu-jitsu. I had good jiu-jitsu, I think, before. It was the self-belief. And he gave me that. So that just shows you words are very powerful if they come from someone who means it and you trust and believe.
How can you offer advice you would offer to somebody wanting to give honest kind of feedback with integrity? Do you have any kind of tips on how any of us should be delivering feedback? Because I know sometimes it can sound a bit kind of off the cuff, or we're too scared to kind of say, or it's quite a silent round and there's not much going on.
I'm not going to say that my way is the right way, but as a coach, when students start, I tell them, I will give you honest feedback. I won't be rude about it, but if there's an area you need to work on or you're doing something wrong, I will correct you. Please don't take it personal. I care about your journey, and I want to make you the best jiu-jitsu if you're an athlete, or if you're a hobbyist, I want to give you the best jiu-jitsu that I can give you. The only way I
Yeah.
can do that is by being honest. Now, you can't just keep knocking someone down. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
let's say I've told someone constantly, like, when you're passing the guard, you have to control the legs, and then they're not. I
Yeah.
will say to them, I've told you time and
Yeah.
time again, the reason you can't pass their guard is you're not controlling their legs.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do this. I'll say to I go, do you know what their legs are? And they go, yes. So I said, why are you not controlling them? And guess what? They always get it if I do that. But I'm a little bit direct. No, sometimes you can go, I go to someone, right, you need to control the head. And they grab the shoulder, and I go, do you know what his head is? And they look at me like, yeah, well, grab it then. And then they do it. So sometimes
Yeah.
being a bit, I don't know if it's rude or I'd say it's direct.
It sounds like it's coming across in a kind of loving, supportive way. So don't worry.
Yes.
I think it's
so,
good.
But obviously, one thing I don't do is, say if someone loses a match and you can see they're heartbroken. I see people do this at tournaments. Like, they're actually, we see one where one of my students fought in the Europeans and won, and his coach slapped the student afterwards. Like, and then someone said, "Did you?" I said, "Wow." I said, "Wow." I said, "But what the coach ain't taking his accountability is the jujitsu that his student was doing was what he was saying. The student followed what he said." So the accountability goes to the coach. Why don't he slap himself? But I would never put hands on one of my students if they for that. But that blaming his students, but he was the one giving his student advice, and his student was following his advice. It's just, it worked out. My student was just technically better. It happens sometimes. You can't. If my student fights someone and the other guy is technically better than him, I have to accept that. We have to go back to the training board, and I have to correct it. I can't put all the blame on him because I've been coaching him as well. So there is accountability as an athlete, there's accountability as a coach. But if my student loses, especially if I told him what to do, I will take accountability, and we'll talk about it in the gym. If he does what I didn't tell him to do, or he does something very random that we've never done in training, I will say, I don't know, do you ever do that in sparring? And he goes, no. So why do you think it was a sunny? It's going to magically happen on the day. Yeah, he watched it on YouTube, and he thought he'd try it on the big occasion. But do you know, there's quite a lot of people do it. I think what happens, they get very, very nervous. Instead of going with what they know, they're like, oh, I'm just going to try something. No. If you've been training for 2 years, 3 years, 8 months, whatever works in your training, please stick to that. Don't change it on the day randomly. It's not a movie. But I think it's sometimes the nervous energy. You see these people do something really random. I remember one of my guys once went for a massive throw, and the guy took his back, and I said, I've never seen you throw anyone in the gym, so why did you do that? And he's like, no, I don't really do throws, but I just thought I'd try it. Like, now, try your stuff in the gym, and if it works, then take it to tournament. That's my approach.
I like that approach. I think that's good. It completely makes sense. You wouldn't go into an exam as a student and go, well, I'll just try this technique, writing upside down or writing in numbers. I'm trying to,
even if you was cooking a meal for someone, right? If you have a really good meal that you always cook, and you've got some guests over, you're pretty much going to stick with that. You're going to try some random meal you've never tried or never cooked, and it ends in a disaster.
You never know. Some people pull it off, Spencer. Some people do.
That's special.
Spencer, thank you so much for joining me. What are you working on over the next kind of 12 months with your gym, your academy, and your personal kind of competition goals?
Okay, I'm going to start with my team. We've had a really good year from the kids to the adults, and that's something I always touch on. If someone asks me, you got any good guys in the gym? I say, everybody. I don't have one standout athlete. If I did, it means I've only focused my energy on one person. So this year we have one of the children, Kaya. She won the Europeans as a yellow belt. So she won the kids. Last year I had Clive win the Europeans. He's 65. So we've got a kid, and now we've got a 65-year-old.
Yeah. Nice.
Mo came to my gym as a blue belt hobbyist,
Yeah.
and he had this way about him that he got on with everybody. He was very dedicated, and I actually gave him a job, just cleaning the mats and reception, and he filled it. He grew. He's now one of a top competitor. He just won the Europeans Masters one at brown belt, which was a great achievement.
Wow.
And it was his third attempt. So this is another thing. Sometimes it's not the right time in your jiu-jitsu journey. It don't
Yeah.
mean it's time to give up. It took
Yeah.
me, I think, 4 times to win the no-gi Europeans, and then I won it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Mo took 3 times, but he did win it. And when he did win it, he won it quite easily. So it all depends when your time is coming, and
Yeah.
everything falls into place. And
Yeah.
he said something to me like the first time where he flew out there a little bit heavy, the weight didn't come off properly. Then the second time he over it and he over fought it. Then the third time he got it right. He understood what it was about.
Yeah.
So there's loads of guys. I'm going to miss some guys out. I've got a young guy, Harry, who he's won like Naga this year. He won 2 ADCs. There's so many good guys on my team, and that's what it is. It's like a
Yeah.
collective result where everyone's pushing each other
Yeah.
to excel. And that's what I like about. I have no superstars. I ain't got like 3 guys that stand out.
Yeah.
It
Nice.
from kids to
Yeah.
masters to adults. I've got guys, and they're all pushing each other, and we all do it for the greater good of the team.
Yeah.
Even
Nice.
for myself, when I go and compete, I try to set like, if I can win it and do it, so can you, because I did it. I
Yeah.
trained here and I managed to achieve it. And I think the Europeans is quite a good one, the no-gi Europeans, because I won it twice. Then after I won it, I think we've had 11 European champions from my team. But
Wow.
it's like it made people, we can. My coach did it, we can do it, So
It's good.
yeah, that's really cool. And I only took a team for the last 3 years, so we've had 11 European champions in the nogi, which I'm really really proud of. And
Yeah.
then we've got some guys doing super fights now. They're starting to get 2 of my guys fought on Polarz, the last one.
Yeah.
Mo went the distance, lost to a really really good guy, black belt from Brazil.
Yeah.
That was a really good match. And then Craig fought another guy who was a European nogi champion, and had a good account of himself. So we're getting guys invited to competitions
Good.
like Polarz, and Polarz are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Like what they're very smart at is they had a show in London, so they invited like all the talent from the local London clubs and then
Mm.
matched them. So like it was a sellout. It was a sold out arena with loads of support for each London fighter, and I
Yeah.
think that's what they're doing smart. They still invite people from like up north, but they make sure they've got
Yeah.
a good London base, which makes sense because when my guys fight in Manchester, there's only going to be 10 of us going, but you fight in London, there's going to be
Yeah.
40 of us going. And it gives the show an atmosphere, and it gives
Yeah.
ticket sales. And you've got to understand, Polarz is giving everyone a platform, but as fighters and coaches, we got to support them by
Yeah.
selling tickets, because they can't just keep pumping money into the sport without making no money. And this is where
Yeah.
a lot of guys go wrong.
Mm.
Like fighters, they want to fight on these shows, and then when the promotion goes, "Oh, can you sell 5 tickets?" They're like, "Why? I'm a fighter." Because them 5 tickets help pay for your purse and the
Yeah.
venue, and
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
collective. Yeah, the more the
Yeah.
athletes support the shows support the athletes. It all works, and
I
that's what
think
we've got
this
to do.
is
But
and this is where your
go on.
business kind of mind is kind of coming into play. Actually, you've got that view, the bigger picture that is kind of
Yeah,
bringing it all together. And I think it's just, to be more open minded and to have that open kind of mindset that, nothing's guaranteed, that you still have to
no,
work hard, you still have to guarantee, showing up and doing all the training. It's down to you at the end of the day. But
exactly, and that's the bigger picture. So as a
yeah,
club, I want my club to succeed, but I
yeah,
also want Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in the UK to succeed and
yeah,
worldwide. But
yeah,
it starts. I can make the biggest impact in my club by one, coaching my guys. Also, I help get them super fights. I help get them sponsors. That's why I class myself as a coach, not an instructor. I don't do an instructor shows moves. I actually try and help my guys' career as well as an athlete, and hopefully more of my guys end up being athletes and also eventually have their own academies. And I will help them do that, especially if they want to do it under my umbrella. If someone wants to do their own thing separate, that's cool. Go and do that, but you're not going to get my support. If you want to do it under my umbrella as another Chetmat Essex, or I will support you. We will help you on a grand opening. And I wish I didn't have that. So the things I didn't have, I look at, I think, let's give that to the next lot of people or next generation. I remember doing tournaments without no coach there and stuff. I try and be at every tournament if I can, even if I have to travel. I want to give a shout out to Valhalla. It's a show up north. I've got like 5 of my guys going up there, 4, I think. And we've taken a whole team and we're going to compete on there. It's not a big show like some of the others, but they're starting to get big. And they're giving guys a platform to do super fights, to get experience for when they do go on Polarz or Grapple Industries or not Grapple Fest. I think it's really, really important. And I think where I've seen jiu-jitsu at the start until where it is, when I was first, there weren't even foot super fights. I think the first thing they did was they done a thing called the 10K, and it was Braulio Estima and Jeff Munson, and they did it, but it was only for like the elite. Like now, like they're doing super fights, getting people platforms, giving people small purses or even travel money, and it's amazing. It really is good, and all the promoters and these shows that are doing that. Like I say to all my guys, you've got to support them as well. It's a two-way relationship.
Yes. And what's happening with your world championship, Spencer?
Okay, so I had knee surgery. I tore my meniscus. I had knee surgery, and I was out for 9 months. I was teaching. I couldn't stop teaching, even though it was painful. I couldn't stop. Then I had surgery. And they told me about 15 weeks I'll be back on the mat. It's been 11 weeks. I'm back on the mat now. I did compete at the Pan Ams 2 weeks ago. There was only one guy. I lost on points. I'm not going to make excuses for the knee. I weren't comp savvy where I'd been out a long time. He beat me on some points. I didn't play the game because it's IBJF. I'm going to the Worlds in Las Vegas. And that gives me, it's literally 5 weeks on top of, so I believe with 8 weeks, I can win the World Championship. So I'm saying I can win it. I'm going to say I'm going to win the World Championships.
Good.
Without any, obviously, if I get re-injured or anything. If everything goes to plan, I believe I'm going to win the World Championships.
Everything's going to plan.
Yes. I've took silver at the Worlds. I've come very close. It's my dream. It's my goal. I will do everything I can possible.
Good.
If I can win the World Championships with a 2-month training camp, I think that'd be a great achievement. So that's my aim.
Good.
And then building the club. We've got some kids gradings coming up. We've got a seminar coming up with Monstro, who's a fight zone phenomenal. He's 17 years old. He just won the Europeans 2 times.
Wow.
So he's going to be coming to my gym. Like I said, I always want someone who can bring something, and all the kids on the team look up to at him. So he's got a really nice jiu-jitsu game, and also he inspires the kids because he's a 17-year-old, so he's still not an adult. So and also it's me supporting him. At 17-year-old, he's going to do a seminar. He's going to earn some money. He's going to use that for competitions. And that's important as well, that, you got a young athlete and they want to do a seminar. And if we can, we'd definitely have you there to give you the opportunity to make some money to invest in your jiu-jitsu career.
Amazing. Spencer, thank you so much for sharing your time today. Everything you've had to say has been of value, and I really appreciate your kind of the vulnerability, you're kind of fighting through, and equally your belief and confidence in your own achievements, as well as every individual in your club. I think it's just outstanding.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How can people follow your journey and see your results at Worlds?
Okay, so my Instagram is BJJ Hewitt. Please follow me on there. I'll be posting up. I've been a bit quiet recently. I think where I had the knee surgery, I like to post things that are really happening on my own personal one. And because of the knee surgery, I didn't just want to be like posting rehab. But once I achieve what I want to achieve, I think I will post about the knee surgery and how I've done the rehab and everything else. But I like to get the result and say, this is what I did. Okay. Because it's very easy to say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I want to show you what happened at the end. And then we can go backwards. That's my way of doing things.
I like that. Don't just say you're going to do something, demonstrate you've done it.
Yes, that's it. So, and then I can show you how I dealt with the knee recovery and not being able to roll, and how I still kept my jiu-jitsu mind sharp. But that's something I would talk about once I've got to where I want to get. And we have my club has a Instagram, Checkmate Essex as well, and my club's open to everybody. I'm not one of them clubs like, oh, you train at this club. Like we have open mats that are actually positional sparring. We have lots of visitors. I'm starting where the club's grown so much. I get visitors from other countries as well now, which is really cool.
Wow,
which, a small club in Essex. People coming from other countries, and why they're visiting London or they come and train at ours, which is really nice because it's something I never had before. So people seek us out. It's quite cool.
Fantastic. I have a gi and I'm willing to travel, Spencer. I may well be coming to see you soon.
You are always welcome. You can just rock up, or you can just let me know, but you're always welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me your time and having me on there. I much appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Thank you again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Loop podcast.